have to liberate the roll cage cum chassis from the engine for the first time ever.
Yep, completely.
So this is the first time the engine will be removed from the car-ish. And for all those who have asked, yes, this was my dining room table. I'm sorry, Marianne. There's a greater cause. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, 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 oh. I mean, that could have gone smoother, but... And that is why it's worth building tiny cars. Because you can just pick them up. It's not actually heavy, is it? Hmm? It's not heavy.
No, just pick it up again. No, nothing.
No. Should I get the weigh scales?
Yeah.
Let's see what it weighs. Oh no. Right, there we go, easy down. And she weighs 52.5 kilos, which is 116, 117 pounds, something like that. Yeah, it's that light, you can lift it with, if you get the balance point right. One hand? Yeah. Not bad, that. Thank you, Mum's bathroom scales. At 52.5 kilos, that's 15 kilos lighter than the 68 kilos of a Lotus Elise S1 floor pan. That's quite good going, I think. And of course, a lot of that is to do with the fact that it's tiny. Look how tiny it is. It really does get lost when you put it on that chassis table because it sits quite high and it looks bigger than it is. But when you put it on a table like this, it really is minute. Hang on, don't start sentences with so or okay. Yeah? Because it's editing work for me. And it's really difficult not to do because I still do it.
That's what I meant. It may seem quite confusing the way that we're actually building the car because you see it with panels on, then panels off, and then body on, then body off.
It's a bit non-linear, isn't it? Or it's non-linear appearing.
So it's not like a car build that you see on TV where they basically take a car apart, then put it back together, and you watch it going back together. Well, because we're making this thing from scratch, we've got to fit panels, make sure the panels fit with the body as we progress, and we've got to be able to make sure they can take the engine out, and with the body off and the body on, and basically work everything through. We can't put the rear suspension on until the engine mounts are all welded up. Once we put the rear suspension on, sort all the geometry out, then we can move forward to put the front suspension on and actually make it into a car, because at the moment it just looks like a climbing frame.
Yeah.
So it might be confusing to people that never seen it like that, because we're not doing it like a normal car build.
Well, also when you do a traditional kind of racing car or a rally car, you do what's called a dry build first, don't you? Yeah. Which is where you build the car completely in its totality, and then you take it all apart and then you paint it. And the reason is, once it's painted, it becomes much more difficult to kind of weld things on. And oh, sugar, I need to put a bracket in here, and I didn't realise, or you know,
we don't do brackets.
Unacceptable! And we are engineering minded, and so it's we forget that people don't think like us.
No.
Because we're on our own little isolated, our own little isolated barn, and we're working on this. And so we think the same, and we have conversations between videos, but we don't realise that actually people just don't know. And so yeah, it's a bit non-linear, because it is non-linear, because it's not a dry build, it's just a build, and it all has to come on together, but apart, but together. Yeah. It's all weird.
It doesn't look like a car.
No, it doesn't look like a car at the minute. It looks like a teeny tiny helicopter, kind of space frame thing, because the back's space frame, but the middle's not, and the front has to be space frame. Yeah. It's all a bit weird, but it will make sense, I promise. And it's one of these things that will all come together all at once, And hopefully everyone's been watching this whole time and you'll all go, ah. It's one of those, you know. One thing that's worth mentioning is people keep asking me if we're raising the roof on the car to make a bigger interior, or if we're actually stretching the car. We aren't stretching the car or raising the roof. The way that we've got more interior space is by angling this bottom bar. Basically, in an original GTM, there's a little floor pan that you can cut the floor out of and sit it in, and it's like this little wedge steel tray. And that fits in around here somewhere, and it allows you to lower your seat. Now that's okay, but it's easy to catch that on the floor, especially when the car's, 50 millimeters off the ground. So what we've done is we've taken that angle and we've put that angle along the entire length of our lower door bar, of our lower sill, so that we don't have anything hanging out under the car. But because it starts here and ends there, even though it's only 15 millimeters, it gives a ton more interior room. And we aren't stretching the car at all. What we've done is actually move the K-Series engine forward in the chassis from where the A-Series would have been. It's something like, is it 6 or 8 inches further forward? It's loads further forward than the original Mini A-Series would have been. And of course, it's the same weight as the A-Series. So it gives us a better center of gravity. It moves me forward in the car, and having the bigger interior allowed for that. So it moves me forward in the car, puts more weight on the front wheels, it makes it a better balanced car, fundamentally, because that's what we're aiming for here, fundamental balance. And so we're not stretching the car at all. It will be externally the same length as a standard GTM, but the wheels will be further apart because the Mini thing was a wheel in each corner, so that's what we're going to lean into. The original Mini front suspension comes back and then in, and the MX-5 front suspension kind of comes forward and then out, like that. So even if the suspension points were in the same place, your wheel would end up further forward. And that's great because we're not a front wheel drive car, and so we don't need front wheel drive front suspension geometry. We need mid-engine sports car geometry, and that's exactly what we're going to get. This Honda CR-V rear suspension, one of the downsides of getting it is that I'm still finding bits of mud. It keeps just extruding mud as time goes on. Every time I look at it, it's filthy. But if you didn't know, this is Honda CR-V rear suspension, so it's Honda crossover suspension, but it's a four-wheel drive version of rear suspension. And the reason I'm using it is it's a four-wheel drive version of the Integra suspension that this engine came out of. So the wheel bearing is the same. It's technically a double wishbone suspension. So this is your bottom wishbone, and then this top link here classes as your top wishbone. And it's the only double wishbone suspension that I could find that would go around a K-series, because it was designed to go around a big fuel tank. But not only that, it uses standard Honda wheel bearings. It fits the Type R shafts. It fits a non-standard hub, but it is a Honda hub. It's just for an earlier car. It's actually for a drag racing car from America. And because it uses all standard Honda stuff, I can actually just go to a Honda parts shop and buy parts, which is handy for a road car, because the last thing that I want is like a modified thing on a modified thing on a modified thing on a modified thing, and then if I have a problem, because I want to be able to drive this car to Morocco and drive through the Atlas Mountains. And so if I have a bit of a problem and I need something like a CV joint or anything like that, I should just be able to go to a parts shop or go online, order the parts and have them sent to me and fix my own car. And that's an awesome thing, because if it's all super modified and everything that bolts to everything else is all modified, if you have any problem, it's like a chain of issues. And unless you have a machine shop wherever you are, you're never going to be able to travel far from home or far from a trailer. And I don't want to have to trailer this thing anywhere, because road car. As soon as we moved the roll cage out of the way, I took the opportunity to clean this gearbox, because I've looked at it ever since we bought it and it was minging and horrible and disgusting. And as you saw, cleaning it was a dirty job. But I'm really happy that I did it, even though it's not the best job in the world. It's a heck of a lot better than it was. And this gearbox will have to come off and obviously be serviced and get a clutch fitted and a flywheel and all that, because there's no clutch in there, there's no flywheel in there. And as far as I know, it's never had its fluids changed or anything like that. So we know nothing about this gearbox. It's a complete unknown entity. So it's all going to have to be sorted out anyway before the engine gets fitted. So it can be cleaned up further and all of that when the time comes. But at least now we're not working around a dirty, horrible thing, and it'll look better on thumbnails, and it's a bit nicer and a bit tidier. And I also did a little bit on this intake manifold. I don't want to smooth the casting marks off the intake manifold. This kind of ripply finish, as I said in one of my 2CV engine videos, is for a reason. The casting dimpling actually increases the surface area, which allows for heat to dissipate better, because you want your intake to be as cold as possible. And that should help that happen. But it looks a lot better than it did anyway. This engine came from the UK, and that's why a lot of the bolts on the front of the engine and stuff are all rusty, and I am going to change all that, and we are going to sort this engine out, and we are going to do a massive servicing job on the engine, as well as some tweaks to make it better and to help it fit our application more, but obviously not yet. When everything gets sorted, when we get closer to the time and when we are kind of ready to start this thing, that's when all that'll happen. But for now, it's just nicer that it's a nice thing to look at, because it looks better in thumbnails and it's nicer for me to look at, and it's a nicer thing to work around. That's the thing with, if you've got a dirty lump of oil in the middle of something really nice, it kind of makes you sad. But also, we've been welding and grinding around it, and it got covered in grinding dust and stuff like that. So hopefully now, when everything goes back together, it'll look a lot better than it did. Right, I've got some gussets to make now, so let's get cracking. I'm going to make a gusset that sits in here to help spread the load. It's not in bending, but I like the peace of mind. I have huge respect for model makers, but this is the reason why I'm not a model maker. Because I have giant, like, sausage fingers. So I don't want it to interfere. So I'm trying to keep it as small as possible and then it doesn't hit on any of engineness. Hopefully this goes to show how much work is involved in this roll cage. I know it looks quite a simple and pared back thing, but Dad's been welding for days, haven't you?
Feels like weeks.
No, but it's -4 in here. Dad's got a stiff deck and we're done for the day because we shattered. But it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, but we have created like the Bauhaus chair of roll cages. Because it looks beautiful and simple and elegant, but it's taken forever and it's incredibly complicated to make, and it's been a bear for you, hasn't it?
Yeah. The thing is, there's nowhere. It's not like a car with a body, where if you make an ugly bracket, you can sort of put it out of the way, bolt it to something else, and cover it up. Because it's skeletal, so you see absolutely everything.
Are you casting aspersions, sir?
No.
Okay. But yeah, I'm really proud of it, and part of it is my fault because it's so tiny, and so everywhere to get in anywhere is an absolute nightmare, isn't it? Yeah. But I love stuff that's really pared back. I love stuff that's skeletal. That's one of the reasons for all the holes as well. Not only does it make it lighter, but you get to kind of look in and through things, and I think that's really pretty. Oliver, wood. Oh, wood's here. Right, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what wheels you think I should put on this car. Our firewood's just arrived, so I've got to go and load a load of firewood. But yeah, tell us what wheels you think we should put on this car, because next week we're doing wheels. And after I've done firewood, I'm going to go and get stuff for wheels. So thank you all for watching. Oh, and tyres. Thank you all for watching. Please be awesome to each other. Please click the like button, subscribe, bell icon, all of that good stuff. And thank you all for supporting this channel. It's been incredible the last few weeks. So thank you all for watching. Go join Facebook groups and all that. Social media down below. Bye-bye.